Okay. Okay, guys, so I'll get started. So give me a second. So we'll have 2 sessions more on EC2. In fact, I think we'll have 3 more because there are a lot of things to complete. I was earlier thinking that I'll finish everything today, but while practicing and while preparing this PPT, I realized there's a lot of content. So let's break it into 3 parts. Okay. So here is sorry. So we'll have a recap of whatever we have studied till part 6 in this series. And then we'll have a small quiz on IAM and S3, which is major topic which we have studied till now. Then I'll talk about AWS Nitro system. Using this, we are getting this virtual servers, right? And then I'll talk a little bit about what is AMI. Then instance family. So I had covered in previous session also a brief overview on the instance family and purchasing option which we get with EC2. So we'll study more today on this. And yes, so in one of the session, Brijesh, you were asking about the pricing. So I can see in management console, you get for each instance type, what is the billing you get. You can find it on the management console. So I'll show you that. And after that, we'll access EC2 instance on Mac. We'll see, okay, we've created EC2 instances. Now how we can access it. And I have 2 practical sessions planned for this part 7, but I think we won't be able to cover 8 and 9 today. So I'll take this up in the next session. Okay. So, yep. So in recap, the first session was all about why we are going to cloud, why we have various cloud offering. Okay. And then we studied about the AWS, because our series is based on AWS. What are the features it's offer, like scalability, agility. And then we studied about AWS well architecture framework, which is all about the best practices. So it's over 15 years using Amazon, right? So they have their best practices, their learnings. So for that, they have created this framework which has 5 pillars like operational excellency. They talk about security and many more aspects. Okay, so if you want to know more about this, you can refer to our first session in this series, where in detail I have talked about the architected framework. Okay, then after that we started with a walkthrough of AWS management console, which is your web interface. So how do you access the services of AWS? There are various ways. One of the way is, which is like a UI based or a web interface, that's your AWS management console. Okay, then we went ahead and talked about IAM, which is identity and identity access management, which in short talks about, okay, who can access what kind of policies we can apply. And it talks about principle who are like doers. Okay, so your doer could be a user. For example, I have created my account, I am a user. Okay, I am user. Okay, then maybe a EC2 instance wants to communicate with S3 for some purposes, then there the doer would be your EC2. So what is it that we call a doer in IAM? It's principal. Then we have resources. Then we talked about ARN, which is like a unique number which gets allocated to the AWS services. Okay, and then we covered a little bit upon policies, like you have managed policies, you have got inline policies, we have got custom policies. So managed policy is what Amazon provides you. Okay, custom is like using that policy, you can create your own policy. So the idea behind creating policies or group is you want to make reuse of stuff. Okay, you don't want that you create a single user and for every user, like for example, if you talk about this webinar, so there are 4 attendees in the webinar and all of them would have a single feature. For example, they are listeners, they are participant. So instead of going one by one giving each access to Sachin, Faz, Brijesh, what I can do is I can create a policy or I can create a group with all these functionalities, and then whenever a new user comes, we can assign that user to this group or to the policies which we have created. But we talked about one special kind of policy, which is like in policy, which you cannot reuse. It is for a specific user, like specific thing you want to perform for a user. So once you delete the user, even that policy is deleted. So though Amazon, they don't recommend you to go for your managed or your inline policy, it's best you create custom. In fact, you should use managed also. The idea behind using managed is if there would be any update in the managed policy, then as a user, I don't have to go ahead and take care of it for all the users which I have created. It would be taken on its own. Okay. But if you create some inline policy and in that policy, there is some update, so you have to manually do it. Okay. Then, so IAM was like a free service. You don't get charged for creating user group policies roles. Okay. And it is a global service. So which is in Amazon, we talk about a region specific service and a global service. So in short, in layman language, if you want to understand what is global service, so in order to see the user, you don't have to pick any region. Okay. When you log into your management console, you don't have to pick any region. You can directly see all the users. Similarly, S3. So if I've created bucket in 4-5 regions, and I want to see what is there in that bucket, I don't need to create select region from the management console. You can just click S3 service and you'll be able to see all the buckets which you have created till now in your account, irrespective of the region. Okay. Then we talked about various storage classes. So we talked about standard 1A, and we understood that how S3, like how costing happens in S3. There are 3 things on which you are charged. First is storage. Okay. Second is retrieval, and third is transfer. Okay. So we understood that when we go from standard to the deep glacier, your storage charges, they reduce, but your retrieval charge increase. For example, in deep glacier, so you'll keep kind of data which you are going to use very rarely. For example, some 1940s or 50s song. Okay, you're not going to use it daily, but someday somebody would like to hear a song which has been recorded in 1940 or 50. He would like to listen to it, and it's not urgent. So Amazon would take 12 hours, 15 hours, and it would give you that data. But with the standard, it's like the access is very quick. Okay. Then we talked about cycle management, which is all about, okay, we've got various storage classes, and we know that, okay, we know the retrieval pattern for the certain objects which we have created. So manually, we don't want to move it from a storage class A to B. Okay, we want it to be a automated process. So for that, you can create a lifecycle management rule wherein you can specify, okay, if there is anything in the standard, for example, you can after 30 days just transfer it to the next level. So with this, what you're doing, you are reducing your storage cost. Okay. And then in this only, we studied about intelligent tiering, which is as a user, I don't know the access pattern. For example, I always give this example, this video session which we are recording. I don't know, Brijesh is not aware like how much this is accessed. Okay. So what we can do is we can create a storage class as intelligent tiering. We can put all the videos there. And now Amazon would put it into standard if it is frequently accessed. But if it's not frequently accessed, you can specify, okay, if it's not frequently accessed, put it into some other storage class so that I won't be charged. Okay. Then we also studied like S3 can be used for hosting your static content. So there, for any website, you have 2 parts. You've got static and you've got a dynamic content. So if you want to store your static content, you can use S3. Okay. And then versioning, little bit, we studied a little bit about versioning, wherein if you want that you want to prevent accidental deletion of your object. Okay, so you can do using versioning. So what happens whenever you delete anything which has version enabled? So what does S3 does? Understand it into a form like, okay, if on my machine, if I've created something and if I accidentally deleted, there's 2 options. Either I choose permanently deleted, or I say, okay, let it go to a recycle bin, and then in future if I realize, oh, this is something I needed, okay, so I can restore it from recycle bin. So same way with versioning in S3, what happens whenever you delete anything, for the same record, a new record get created, and it has got a special marker which is called as delete marker. So with now you can pick all the files which has delete marker, and now you delete them. Okay, so it's like you're deleting those content from the recycle bin, so it would again move to your original location. Okay, so now let's get started with the quiz. Okay, so it was all me who was talking all this while. So what we'll do, I'll read out the question for you guys. You can answer it in chat. So once all of you are done answering, we'll discuss whose answer is correct or whose answer is incorrect, and with explanation we'll try to understand. Okay, so let's get started. So your first question is, which of the following set of credentials are used to log in to AWS programmatically? So we know there are three ways to log into the application. One is like CLI, second is your management console, and third is your SDK. So here we are talking about accessing your AWS services programmatically. So what do you think is the answer of this question? You can write it in chat. Okay, I see the answers coming. Okay. Okay. So Brijesh, what do you think is the answer? I have got answer from Faz. I've got from Sachin. I'm waiting for your answer. Yeah, so the answer, Sachin, it's both secret key and your access key. Okay, so you need both. Simple ऐसे समझ लो. For example, management console पे you are logging in, right? So what are the two things I have to give? I have to give user and I have to give my password. So similarly, programmatically, if you want to access anything, you need to give your access key and your secret key. Okay. An explicit deny in IAM precedes over explicit allow. Is it true or false?
True.
Yep. Yeah. So we understood. So Amazon, it says that you should always give people least privileges. Okay, you should grant least privileges. And if there is for a resource, you see explicit deny and explicit allow both. So always explicit deny would take preference. Okay, let's move to next question. Which of the following is not an IAM best practice? Manage permission by adding user to groups. Enable MFA, which is multi-factor authentication on user account. Attach policies to individual user. Delete user account not in use. Okay, so, okay. Nice, yeah. So we should not attach policies to individual user because then you are not reusing anything. So we want to promote reusability. So these are the things like, okay, by creating a group, you are going for reusability. Okay. Enable is for extra protection, extra security. And similarly, D is like, if somebody is not using the account, let's go ahead and delete it. Okay. Next question is, which of the following sections in a policy specifies the entities to whom access to a resource is granted or denied? So we have got various components in policies. So we are creating policies for whom? Like, what is that out of these four things for whom we are creating policies? Yeah, it's principal, which is your doer. Okay, so you're specifying whether a principal, which is your doer, can access resources which are mentioned in the policy. So if you want to specify all the resources, we use asterisks. Okay, and if we have to specify a specific resource, then ARN is what you use. Okay. Yeah. Which of the following is the most secure way of giving access to AWS service to application running on EC2 instance? Is it by creating a service group, attaching policies to application, creating service user, or roles? So question is, if one application wants to access another application, so what is it that we should give? It's roles. Remember, we did one practical session wherein I was accessing from one account. I was going to access something from another account. So what I had created in that, it was roles. Okay. I think Brijesh answered all 5 questions correctly, and Faz and Sachin, you both answered 4 questions. Okay. So Brijesh is our winner for IM. So let's move to S3 now.
Some bonus of studying, actually. And this one, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So let's have some quiz on S3. Okay. So which of the following are storage classes in S3? backup, optional, standard, standard 1A. It's actually standard IA. I don't know why I keep saying 1A. Okay, okay. Yeah, it's standard and standard IA. So what is the difference between the two? Okay, what do you think is the difference between standard and standard infrequent access? So the name itself suggests like standard is something which you're going to retrieve it. Your retrieval is very frequent, and infrequent is something which you'll access once in 5 days. Okay. What is the maximum allowed object size in what is the maximum allowed object size in S3? This I might have not touched in my session, but let's see, take a guess. What is the maximum allowed size? Okay. Yeah, it's 5 terabyte. Okay. Which feature of S3 prevents accidental deletion of files in S3? Encryption, versioning, transfer acceleration, ACL. S3 prevents accidental deletion of files in it. We just covered its versioning. Remember, I told you like if you've enabled version and you delete anything from your S3, okay, what would happen? A delete marker gets associated with that record. So anytime if you want to revert to the original, you can do it by deleting the delete marker files. Okay. Amazon S3 is which type of storage service? Is it simple, block, object? Okay. So answer is object. The name of the service is simple storage service because it's very simple to use. You don't need to know a lot of stuff about S3. It's simple. You create a bucket, you add an object, you do permissions. Okay. But what kind of a data is stored? It's object. Like we'll study later in the series about elastic block storage or EFS. Therein you'll understand, okay, data is stored. So you have 3-4 storage classes. You have object storage. So for that, it's S3. For block, it's your EBS. Okay. Yeah, Sachin, the full form is says. Okay. Object storage system stores files in a flat organization of container called what? So in S3, what is that entity wherein? Yeah, buckets. It's bucket. Okay. So last question. True or false? S3 objects are only accessible from the region they were created in. Correct. It's false. Okay. Yeah. So I think we did good on quiz. So from where I got this quiz, sorry, let me share it with you guys so that you can practice more. They had very small quizzes. Okay, have I not saved it? Okay, I think I forgot to save. Yeah, this is the site. So you can practice more questions from this site. Okay, they have flashcards also. They've got quizzes also. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So let's understand how is virtualization achieved in Amazon. Okay. So in the overview session of EC2, we understood like what exactly is EC2. It's like your virtual service. It is used for compute. So how is AWS performing virtualization? So it's simple, right? Right now, we say, okay, it's cloud computing, everything is on cloud, but actually it's like a data center which you are not managing. It is being managed by AWS. Okay. So you'll have a system. Okay. And then you'll have a host system. Using the host system, you'll be getting virtual machines. So in traditional, like earlier way, how Amazon used to do virtualization is, you had your host machine, okay, then hypervisor used to get installed. So understand hypervisor is which helps you in performing the virtualization. Okay, so what was the disadvantage with this approach? You'll see in the numbers. Okay, so if a machine has 100% capacity, 30% is used by the hypervisor for some management services. So for user, how much capacity you are giving is just 70%. So 30% is being used by the hypervisor itself, but we want to give user maximum capacity. Okay, so then Amazon, they came up with a Nitro system wherein all these components, your networking, storage, management, security, and monitoring, all these is accessed by a separate hardware, which they call it as network card. Okay, so with that approach, what advantage you are getting is you're getting 100% for the customer instances. Okay, so this is the difference between your traditional virtualization and the current virtualization, which is being done in EC2. So the C5 series was the one where this was introduced. Okay, so they came up with C3, C4, C5. So in every series, when they went from C3 to C4 to C5, they were removing. Okay, in first series, networking was put into a separate hardware, then in second, storage, and in third, finally everything they were able to put it into a separate hardware, which they call as Nitro cards. Okay, so we don't have to go in detail, but it's good to know, like, okay, how is virtualization being done, how we are able to, so why the prices of your EC2 instances, they are reducing, right? Because of all these features which they are coming up. Okay, so a small summary on it. Like with Nitro system, EC2 performs better across CPU, networking, and storage because those functions are moved to a dedicated Nitro cards. Okay, not having to hold back resources for management software means more saving that can be passed on to the customer. So there's this article from where I got to know. They've shared in detail, I hope. Yeah. So just read about this in detail. It's something which is like good to know. You don't need to understand full detail. So see, if you talk about, they'll give you what was the problems they were facing. Okay, and then how did they, so this is a terminology which AWS uses, like it's like one-way and two-way decision. So two-way decision is something you can say, you can always revert back to your original. Okay, so you had two versions, version A and B. So if you decide to go for version B and you found out, okay, B is not working fine, so you can always go back to your previous version. But this experiment they did with Nitro system, it was like one way. Okay, it couldn't be reverted. Okay, so they talk about it took them 5 years to come up with the Nitro system and how they approached, how they went. Here they talked about this Annapurna lab, which by collaboration with them, they were able to achieve this. So ultimately, they really liked their technology. So they went ahead and they acquired Annapurna. Okay, so also in Amazon, I think Amazon, they have yearly Amazon Reinvent, something like that. So there also, there was one session by Chetan Kapoor, who is senior product manager in AWS. So he also talked about in detail about EC2 Foundation. So he talked on these aspects only. So you can always go ahead and refer to that video on YouTube. Okay. And in general, also those AWS Reinvent videos are really good. They give you a very nice overview of everything, like how they came up with the idea and why they picked something. So they'll talk all those things in detail. Yep. Yeah. So now, what's like AMI? Again, we touched on this topic in a previous session. It is Amazon Machine Image. So you can say it's kind of template, okay, with which would have a basic configuration. So using AMI, you create your instance, okay, and there could be like 3 ways from where you can get the AMIs. One is Amazon maintained. So right now, when I'll go ahead and create the instance, I'll be using the AMI, which is maintained by Amazon. Okay. Then there is something which you can purchase from the marketplace, Amazon marketplace. So if you want a certain configuration, okay, you don't, just for example, suppose the AMI which you have, they have got Windows Server, but you are looking for a Linux. Okay. So then you can purchase that kind of AMI from the marketplace. And third is whatever machine, I mean, image is there in your system, like whatever you are using, the basic configuration, you can also export it and use it as a AMI in Amazon. So this is something I'll explore and I'll let you know how we can do this. Okay. And again, it's like if you've launched your instance using AMI. So if your instance failed, you don't have to do anything. Again, go ahead and launch a new machine using the AMI. So again, we are doing reusability and it's like a fail safe. Yeah. Okay. So whenever we talk about EC2, we also have instance type. So if you all would have logged into, okay guys, give me a second. Mera nephew again. Okay. Yeah, so whenever we talk about EC2, we'll talk about instance type. Again, why this instance type if you want to? So everybody's need is different. Every organization is having a different requirement. For example, in case of your banking system, okay, you want something which is like has more, it is more memory optimized. Like, so EC2 is all about you are giving a compute facility, you are giving a basic CPU, memory, storage, and network performance. So there would be some application wherein they'll want good processor. There would be some application where storage is more important. Okay, but there would be some wherein, okay, I'm not concerned about memory, I'm not concerned about storage, I want a good network performance. So based on these four parameters, you get five instance type. For example, the general purpose one, they belong to these series A, M, and T. Okay, so here there is a balance of everything. There is a balance of your compute. Okay, this is not computer, it's compute, which is like your CPU, then memory, network. So there is a balance. So you can use it for small workload. Okay, no, normally you want to do any R&D or the session which I'm giving. So I go and pick T2 service. It's free and it has got minimum necessity. But if you want, if you're looking for something wherein you want to do a batch processing or you want to perform a parallel processing, okay, so then for you compute is more important because you want to process quickly and then move ahead. Okay, in case of banking or relational databases, okay, you want something which is more memory optimized. So for that you have RxZ series. Again, I don't think so these kind of question you'll be asked in exam, in your certification exam, but it's good to know. Okay, like when somebody asks us like, okay, I want to use a EC2 instance, so you can always talk to that person and understand like, okay, what kind of functionality are you looking for? Are you looking for something which is like memory optimized, or do we have an application where batch processing is happening, or we are doing a kind of R&D or doing small setups related to or automation wherein we just need a basic machine. Okay, so you can pick those series based on your requirement. Then you have something which is your storage optimized. So here wherever you want to do sequential read and write access, okay, so that time you'll pick an instance which is storage optimized. So which are those instances? Those are like your I, D, and H. Okay, so let's go to management console and see these series in detail. Where did I go? Sorry, I'll just look for. No, this is pricing module. I think I should pick this one. Yeah. So I just gave gist of all these, but in detail you can understand. Okay, so see, general purpose, So it's a balance of compute, memory, and networking. So what are those? How do you recognize them in the management console by these? Is it TCDs, MCDs, ACDs? Okay. So they've talked about like, okay, what kind of processes they have. I remember like when I had joined this industry 10 years back. Okay, so therein when SRS used to get created or requirement used to get created, they used to write, okay, the application should have this much, this kind of a processor, this much of a space. So they have given similar details here, like, okay, if you're looking for 32, so the application which you want to run, it requires 32 GB, so you can go ahead for this. Okay, then use cases also they have given, okay, you're developing, building, testing, and signing iOS, or you're doing some POC, etc. There also you can use general purpose instances. Okay, then memory optimized, so they are your R series, X series. Okay, so yeah, so this is like powered by AWS Nitro system, which we studied, and this is the size. So if in general, any instance you will see, they'll have a nomenclature, something like this: medium, large, the type like RT, then generation, like this is 6th generation. And this size is like, it's a t-shirt sizing. That means large would be, whatever is there in medium would be more in large. Whatever is there in the large, it would be more than that in X large. But what is that exact? If you're not aware, that also would do. Okay. So see here, you in case of this R60 16 large, you see 64 CPU. Okay, then you can see memory. So depending upon your, if you're working on some graphical application, okay, so the requirement for a graphical application would be different from normal web application. So based on your requirement, you pick the instances. Okay, let's see same instances on your management console, okay, with the pricing as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, instance type. It takes few seconds to load. Yeah. So see, same which details which were seeing in documentation could be found here as well. Okay. So if you want to pick anything from, say, XCDs, so okay, I think I'm not able to search this way, but yeah, in general, if you know the series which you want to use, all these details can be found here, and they have pricing as well. Okay. So there is, when pricing is concerned, I'll talk about it in a later slide. But in Linux, you are charged per second. For example, if you used an instance for say 1 hour, 20 minutes, so you'll be charged for 1 hour, 20 minutes. But in case of Windows, if you happen to access it for 1 hour, 20 minutes, you'll be charged for 2 hours. So there's this small difference between how pricing happens in Linux and how pricing happens in Windows. And that's why you see a little difference also. See, 2 USD per hour, and this is 2.57 per hour. I don't know why this discrepancy between Linux and Windows. I might have to study about it. Yeah. Yeah. So till now, all clear, I hope. No questions, or there are any questions, I can take it up now. Okay, I'll consider this as no then. Okay, thank you, Faz. Yeah. Now comes the purchasing option. So there are 6 types, and you'll see I have made 3 type as bold. So ultimately, you are charged only based on 3 types on demand. So as the name suggests, it is like fixed per hour, and where you want to go for on demand kind of a purchasing option, which is short uninterrupted workload. Okay, so that time you'll go for on demand purchasing. So whenever I'll use it, I'll be charged for that. Okay, if I'm not using it, for example, I created a EC2 instance and I am not using right now, so I won't be charged for it. Okay, then let's talk about spot instance. I'll come about dedicated instance and dedicated host later. So spot instance, of all these six, the cheapest is spot instance. Okay, so I was going through one tutorial. There's this channel, it's really good channel, Technical Guftgu. So there's this person, Bhupinder. He teaches all these AWS things in Hindi. So reference for this purchasing option is from that YouTube channel itself. So he gave an example of a hotel wherein he says, suppose I have a hotel and I've got 10 rooms. So I see like 5 rooms, they are occupied and 5 are free. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll give 90% discount to the customer, and else, because it's of no use to me if I keep it vacant also, it's of no use, but I want to make best use of it. So I go ahead and give 90% discount to a customer, and I know that okay, they are going to use it in a time where I am not going to get any customer request. Okay, maybe it could be night, somebody was traveling and they want to rest. So they can opt for such kind of a room, they'll get a 90% discount. But the only problem with these spot instances is you should use it wherein if this instance happens to get terminated, your work should not get impacted. So if you're doing some R&D, some testing, so you're okay, I was doing some testing, I was trying something, and I gave this room to say Faz, and I gave this spot instance to Faz, and he was giving me $100. Okay, but Sachin came. He said, "Okay, I'll pay $120." So what I'll do, I'll take it from Faz and I'll give it to Sachin. Okay, so then you have to be very careful that with spot instances, you'll have this kind of a scenario. So now where we can use it, for example, if you're doing some R&D on AWS and you need to have certain capabilities which you're not getting through your free tier, so you can go ahead for the spot instances. Okay, then sixth item, it is also one of the purchasing option, which is reserved instance. तो यहाँ पे तो आप क्या बोल रहे हो कि मुझे इंस्टेंस चाहिए अगले 3 साल के लिए, ठीक है? तो since again, अगर आप room ले रहे हो, right? If you buy a room for 10 days, for one day they'll charge you 10,000, for example. But moment you say that I'm booking in bulk for 10 days, for a month, you get some discounts. So in reserved instance also, you have a similar concept where you're saying that I'm going to book this instance for next 3 years. Okay, so here both customer and AWS both are benefiting because now as a AWS, I am free. Now I know my instance is not vacant, it is being used by someone. And then the customer is also happy that he knows, okay, अभी तो मैं नहीं यूज कर रहा हूँ, right now I'm not using it, but for 3 years I have my instance, and you are getting advantage also, you're getting 70%, 75% of discount. Okay, so on demand is like you are paid per second. So in case of Linux it's per second, but in Windows, you're paid per hour, but it's like fixed, so you'll use it, you'll be charged. Spot instance is like, okay, you'll do a bid, and whoever bid is higher, they'll be getting these instances, and these are kind of unused EC2 capacity. So Amazon don't want to waste anything, so they give it to the user. But if somebody comes with a higher bid, this instance would be terminated, it would be taken away from you, and you will be given just 2 minutes of notification. Yeah, so use this when you're okay losing an instance. Okay, and third purchasing option was like reserve, wherein you are doing an upfront payment and you're blocking your instance for next 3 years. Okay, after this you have a dedicated instance and dedicated host. Their purchasing option is very similar to on demand. Okay, so they are also, as you use it, you are charged. So what is dedicated instance? So if you go back to that virtualization presentation, you see you had a host machine, and then hypervisor was giving you virtual machines, right? So if one of that virtual machines you wanted for yourself, like you want a dedicated instance, okay, so you'll go for this purchasing option. Third is your dedicated host, when you want entire host machine for your usage. Okay, so in short, you're just taking all that machine and you're saying, okay, this is going to be used for my work, and where this kind of purchasing option is helpful, wherein if your application which is going to be run on that machine, they are licensed based, so you can use it license just one. I think in QTP we used to have seat license and floating license. Okay, so the seat license was something which if you have added on one machine, then you cannot share it with the other person. Not QTP, I think Ready API. Yeah, so in Ready API also we had this concept. So if you're going to use a Ready API on this EC2 instance, so in that case you would go for a dedicated host. You'll add that API so that all the users in your team can access it. Okay, you don't have to reinstall the licenses. Okay. Scheduled instance, pay for time instance or schedule respective of use. Okay, so here also schedule instances in 24 hours, from 9 to 5 I am going to use this instance. After that my instance won't be used. Or the example which that person gave, he said, for example, the salary processing, this is something which happens at the end of the month. Okay, so in that case also you can go for schedule instances, so you'll be charged only for that schedule. Okay, and in that schedule, if you don't use it, you'll still be charged. Yeah. Okay. Did I keep any article on the purchasing option? Or let me just. Okay, now this like, okay, how you are being charged for Amazon DynamoDB. Okay. Computer. They've not given that detail, but I think we can explore it from here. Okay. So this was all about EC2. Okay. Now I think there would be one more theory session. Like it would take 15-20 minutes, and then we'll do a lot of practicals on EC2. Okay. So let's just understand, okay, how can you access your EC2? So this is just theory. I'll show it to you right away. But in general, if you want to, so I've launched my EC2 instance. Okay, now I've got bare configuration. I wanted Linux for my work, so I took T2 Micro. It had a Linux. Now I want to access it, and for example, I want to set up Jenkins on this EC2 instances. Okay, so in order to set up Jenkins, I need to have Java. I need to install Jenkins. Okay, so to do all these things, you need to access this machine. So how can you access it? For that, you need to have a private key pair. Okay, using which you can do RDP. Like if it's Windows, you'll do RDP, and for Linux, system or terminal, SSH. Okay, and how many instances you can create in a region? It's not account, it's a region. So in a region, you can create 20 instances. And there's something which is called a status check which is inbuilt in EC2. You don't have to configure it. It is already configured by AWS. So what is status check? If you see this instance which I had just launched, yeah. So you get something like this, 2x2 check passed. So it's kind of a health check which your EC2 instance does. Okay, so yeah. See, I've stopped, so there's no health check happening. Where were we? Okay. When EC2 is stopped, you are charged for only, yeah. So this, I did a mistake and I was charged some amount. So wherein what I did, I thought, okay, I am going to stop my EC2 instance and hence I won't be charged, right? But what I had done, I had used extra storage for doing some R&D. So what when you won't be charges, if you're using just instance based storage, like when I'll go ahead and launch an EC2 instance, you'll see you get a 8 GB of memory. Okay. But if you want to have additional storage, which is, for example, EBS, so then you're going to be charged for it. So it's kind of understand it as a network drive or extra storage which you want, other than what you're getting. If you want to have some extra storage, you can go ahead for EBS, EFS, etc. So if your instance has EBS volume in it, you'll be charged for it. Okay. So let's go ahead and launch one EC2 instance. Okay. So here, launch instance. देखो सबसे पहले क्या आता है आपके पास, AMI आती है, ठीक है. And then I was telling you, okay, you can purchase some EMIs from the marketplace as well. These are the ones which are managed by AWS. Okay. So suppose I want a Linux machine. Okay. So this is your AMI. See, they have written this AMI is a successor of Amazon Linux AMI that is approaching end of the and has been removed from the wizard. What are its configuration? This is the basic thing which you are getting. Okay. So I'll go ahead and select. So T2 micro. So now you understand, okay, what does this T series means? What do we mean by micro, small, okay, X large? Instance storage is EBS. That means your operating system is in EBS. Okay. Next configuration setting. Number of instances you want to launch. Okay. We'll for now we are going to do one, but when we'll come to auto scaling and all, we'll see. Okay, then there's network subnet. All this is part of our, I think, once we are done with EC2, we'll study. For now, just understand VPC is your virtual private cloud. Okay. Yeah. So let's go with the default setting. Okay. Acha, ye important hai. For example, when you're doing, when you are launching your instance, and if you want to perform something, the moment your EC2 instance is launched, you can write all these things here. Okay? So whatever you write it would be displayed the moment your EC2 instance is launched. Okay? Add storage. So this is your root volume 8 GB. Okay? If you want to add a new volume, बस ये दिखाने के लिए दिखा देती हूँ. So type you can select. So there are various storage, volume type, and you are charged based on what do you select, SSD, HDD. So all this also will understand. Magnetic, it's old type of your storage. Okay. And see, you have either root or EBS. So root is where your, operating system is available. Okay. तो नॉर्मल जो हमारे विंडोज में होता है, C drive, D drive, तो उसी तरह से आपका. इसको नहीं लेती हूँ मैं, else I'll be charged. Okay. Add tags. Abhi for now, for example, I've created 5-6 instances and I want to segregate them based on certain tag, like production वाले tag. कुछ instances मैंने अपने testing के लिए लिए हैं, तो you can add a tag जिससे you can distinguish. Okay. इसका ऐसा कोई पर्पस नहीं है, बस ये डिस्टिंग्विश करने के लिए. कोई फिल्टर अप्लाई करना है तो आप टैग पे फिल्टर अप्लाई कर सकते हो. तो जो भी रिसोर्सेज पे स्पेसिफिक टैग होगा उन सब पे वो रूल अप्लाई हो जाएगा. ओके. कॉन्फ़िगर सिक्योरिटी सेटिंग. ये क्या है? सिक्योरिटी ग्रुप. इट्स काइंड ऑफ यू से फायरवॉल है कि आप बता रहे हो कि मेरा ट्रैफिक कहाँ से आ सकता है, और इट्स लाइक योर इनबाउंड आउटबाउंड रूल आप बता रहे हो. तो जैसे अब मुझे अगर इस पे जेनकिंस का सेटअप करना है, तो जेनकिंस वी नो इट्स रन्स ऑन 8080 पोर्ट, राइट. तो फिर मुझे यहाँ से जाके कस्टम टीसीपी यहाँ पे जाके बताना पड़ेगा कि अच्छा भैया मुझे 8080 पोर्ट अलाउ कर दो. ठीक है. मान लो HTTPS है आपके पास. ये क्या कर लिया मैंने, HTTP. ठीक है. अब मान लो, अच्छा सॉरी, आई एम सॉरी गाइस, दिस वुड बी कस्टम ओनली. वो HTTP और उसके लिए, अब मान लो मुझे HTTP है मेरी साइट, या मुझे HTTP वाले ट्रैफिक एक्सेस करने हैं, तो पोर्ट 80 होता है, राइट. अगर मुझे HTTPS करना है तो 443. So all those setting you can do it from this security group. Again, we'll study in detail about the security group. Okay, so either you can create a new security group or you can pick an existing security group. Okay, so for now I'm creating. You can give any name. Okay, demo. Okay, launch. Okay, so now if you want to access your EC2 instance from your machine, you need to have key pair. Okay, so either you can create a new key pair or you can choose existing key pair. So I had created a existing key pair, but chalo theek hai, new hi bana leti hu. Let me just name it TTC. Okay. Download key pair, and don't forget to download this, because if you forget to download it, then you won't be able to access your EC2 from your machine. Okay. एक बार लॉन्च कर देते हैं. So it's in pending. तो एक तरह से ऐसे कर लो, आपकी मशीन बूट अप हो रही है. So yeah, it's taking time. हमारा कुछ भी नाम दे देते हैं, डेमो टीटीसी डेमो. ठीक है, दिस इज अप एंड रनिंग. आई नीड टू बाय टेक. पहले इसको आ जाने दो, सही रहेगा. बहुत टाइम लगा रहा है ये. ठीक है, आई थिंक इसके बिना भी विल बी एबल टू एक्सेस. सो लेट्स ट्राई टू एक्सेस दिस. ओके. Okay, now if I want to connect to this machine from my system, what I'll do. Okay. So the key which I had downloaded, it would be there in my downloads folder. So you go to that folder. First give this permission so that only you can read it. TTC, okay. Now what you need to do is normal जैसे आप Linux server को access करते हैं. This the key. Okay. Abhi I'm telling from Linux. I'll tell you how to connect on a Windows machine as well. Okay, for that you need putty and all. So we'll do that as well. Now say EC2 user @ your public IP address. So here is your public IP address. Okay. तो पहले फिर से एक बार just revise कर लेते हैं. We launched an instance. While launching, we downloaded this PEM, which consists of your key pair. Okay. Then we went to that location. We gave this permission to the file so that only you can read it. And then now I'm going to do SSH on that machine. Okay. Yes. Okay. So you are connected to this machine now. Okay. So abhi, for example, if I need to install Java on this machine, abhi dekhte hain kya Java hai isme. See, Java is not there. So now I want to install Java. So अब कुछ नहीं करना है. Normal जैसे मशीन पे Java install करने के steps होते हैं, वही follow करके you can install. Let me see, कहीं पे I was doing it. Okay, let me install Java on Linux EC2. अब आप ऐसे समझ लो, you've got one machine. अब जो भी आप normal अपने machine पे चीजें करते हो, same thing you can do it in this machine. So we'll just install Java for now, and then in next session we'll meet. We'll set up Jenkins as well. Okay. So we didn't get anything. ठीक है भैया, अब जाओ इसको कॉपी कर लो. तो ये अगर आपके पास भी मशीन होती तो हम सेम ही स्टेप करते, राइट. अगर मेरे पास एक मशीन आती है और मुझे उस पे जेनकिंस सेटअप करना होता तो मैं सेम करती, मशीन पे जाती, मैं डाउनलोड करती, ये सारी चीजें. तो सेम अब मैं इस EC2 इंस्टेंस पे कर रही हूँ. Now if I do, now you've installed Java on this machine. Okay, so I'll stop till here. For assignment, if you guys want, you can take this, like, okay, try setting up Jenkins on your own. If not, then I'll be covering it in the next session. So what all we'll do in the next session, first we'll finish these two labs, which is like setting up Jenkins. Okay, and then we'll do this AWS code commit and EC2 instance. So it's similar to, for example, if you want to connect, you have a remote repository, you want to sync that remote repository with your local repository. So these are the things you use it frequently while working in automation. So I'll try to cover such examples wherein you can relate it and you can understand, okay, where all you can use AWS. Also, we'll study about launching EC2 using cloud formation, and then we'll do a CLI. Okay, we'll try to, the way we did basic command for S3. So similarly, we'll do it for your EC2 to launch an instance, to see any instance which are running in your system. So I'll have a lot of session in this topic. So ideally, we had to go for VPC and subnet, but I decided I'll have two more parts. Okay, so we'll do lots of practical. So if you all have not created your account, go ahead and create it. And if you have created account, just get yourself familiarized with the terms which we talked about today. So purchasing option, it's just good to know. Instance type, it's just good to know. For your practice, simple, आपको सिर्फ T2 micro उठाना है और उसी पे काम करना है, ठीक है? And once you are done, make sure you stop your instance if you have not used any external storage. But if you've used your external storage, so you need to just terminate your system, okay? Else you'll be charged. So I am done from this session. Okay. Koi doubt, guys? Anything?
No doubts. It was very clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Very good session. Very clear for me.
Okay. So yeah, we'll cover more practical on this. I'll come up with the good practical.
That's what I was also thinking, that this is something that we need to try and look at the different options, and to be able to have a clarity on thought that, okay, what are the services or what is the things that we can use, what are the pricing options, we must know clearly about it. Like you were able to look at it and say that if you allowed that to continue, then you may be charged. So you have to be very decisive about it, otherwise we may opt for something and then may get charged. So you don't want to be that kind of a situation. But this was really helpful. I think we need to start doing some hands-on. So maybe that'll help us get the concepts clear.
And also I came across, let me share my screen. I think Amazon only provides you this quick lab. Wait, where did I keep it? So I reached this link from Quick Lab, I mean, AWS only. I was looking for some quick start. So it took me to this page. I had to sign in. And here, if you see, for every topic, they have given some labs. So they have, I think, close to 19 labs. So I'll try to cover all these labs. So they have given everything step by step.
Cool, this is cool.
So we'll go through these 19 labs. They have got elaborated steps.
Very nice.
Okay, guys. So I'm done for the day.
All right. Thank you so much, Jyoti. It was great. Like I said, I mean, we need to get a little more hands-on, and probably attending the practical sessions that you're going to do in the upcoming days is going to help us.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again. See you again next weekend.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, fans. Bye, Sachin.